Welcome! I am Flatcap Callum and this is my Cheltenham Festival ante-post video number 3 of 3. So it's the third and final edition. So we've had the championship races with extras, we've had the novice races, the third and final edition which is going out to you. I believe we are about 5 days away from Cheltenham Festival. So some would say this is too late for anti-post videos. This is the point where I would be getting stuck into the handicap market. The other markets have been formed a lot longer, so we are here for episode number 3, handicap edition. So there are 9 handicaps for us to mention on this video. So if you're not familiar you are familiar, and I'll remind you anyway, what's the format? The format is I give you a bit of general preamble, I'll go through each race, I'll give you a bit of preamble in each race. I get to the end, and at the end of the video, so if you want to fast forward and you're that kind of person, that's fine. At the end of the video I'll give you my final selections. So at the end of this video I'm going to put up 10 final selections for the handicaps, so across all 4 days. And yeah, I will kind of start my top 4 for those of you that want to maybe put them into a lucky 15. Some people will do them as singles, some people might do them as combinations. It's entirely up to you. I don't record the anti-post videos for statistical purposes. What I have done is broken down for each and every horse selection I'm putting up, which is the best bookmaker at the time of making this video for putting out the price. So I'm not recommending a stake, not recommending how you do them, other than to say they're not even declared to run yet in the actual races. So non-run and no bet is essential. Singles are preferable at this stage, but I have starred 4 for those of you who like to have a little bit of a lucky 15 out there as well. Alright, so handicaps, 9 handicaps, and I never quite know with how to pitch these things, because I know there's some people who are very well educated, very experienced in this game watching this video, and there'll be some people who are completely new. 9 handicaps at Cheltenham. There is 1 juvenile handicap, the Boodles, which I will not be basically touching from an anti-post point of view. It's my least favourite handicap. So because they're juveniles, they have not very much form. They tend to have run 2-3 times over hurdle, some of them. It's very hard to gauge even when you get to the day, so I'm not going to touch it anti-post. That leaves us with 8 other handicaps, 4 hurdles, 4 chasers. 2 of them specifically are for amateur conditional jockeys. So what you got is, you've got on hurdles, you've got county hurdle, which is the 2 mile. You've got the 2.5, which is the Martin Pipe for conditional jockeys. You've then got 2 mile and 5, which is the Coral Cup, and you've got the 3 mile, which is the Potemps. So you've got 4 different distances. The middle 2 are a little bit tricky, and those 2 particularly, because they have a lot of entries, you'll see I'm not really going to come to much of a conclusion on those ones. Then from the chase point of view, you've got the Grand Annual that always used to end Cheltenham, and that's now it's now moved. It was sadly the race that used to have the most fatalities, because it is a really fast-paced chase race, and yeah, so they've made some changes and they've reduced the field size down. They put it early in the week, and it seems to have thankfully made those figures go away. So Grand Annual, 2 mile chase. Then got the Plate, which is the 2.5 mile chase. We've then got 3 mile and 1, which is the Ultima chase, and the 3 mile 2 and a little bit, which is the Kim Muir for amateur riders. And again, trying to work out the difference between what's going to go running the Ultima and what's going to run the Kim Muir is quite tricky. The best rated horses ultimately go for the Ultima, and then it's a bit like the Kim Muir is like 2nd division, but not all horses are entered into both races. Alright, that's the challenge, that's what we've got to navigate. So starting off, we'll do them in order in which they take place from a preamble. So Tuesday we've got the Ultima. Really tricky. I like the race, and it's one of those ones where you want to go a little bit careful anti-post, because so many of the horses are entered in that and the Kim Muir. It's really difficult to work out who's going to go in what race, and you've got to have a look at some of the history to look at what's the handicap mark that might be enough for a horse to get in. As a general rule on these handicap chases, I say as a general rule, as a general observation, I'm very keen on Venetia Williams as the trainer for this year. yeah, Kim Muir, when we get there, she's had a particularly good record last couple of years in the Kim Muir. But generally speaking, in the handicap chases, for the Ultima and for the Kim Muir and the Grand Annual, I do like Venetia Williams horses. So I'm keen, and you'll see when we actually get to Cheltenham next week, I'm likely to be backing Venetia Williams horses in handicap chases, not just as a blanket. I've just gone through and literally they're popping out to me as value horses at the moment. So I think our horses are underrated going into Cheltenham, certainly. So Ultima, I had a bit of a list of about 5 or 6. So on my freebets.com videos that I put out, I did this one weeks and weeks ago before the markets had really formed, and I put out Fanny and Destravel. It's not going to make it on the shortlist today. It does look like it's likely to run at the moment in the Ultimate. But yeah, and the price is not too dissimilar to what it was about whatever it was 4 weeks ago, I think, when I mentioned it. It's not going to make the cut though. There's 4 I like that are entered in the Ultimate and the Kim Muir. Death Duty, which I've been having some chat on the comments with this with somebody, and possibly Justin, I think off the top of my head, I think it might be Justin. I was having some conversations with, not a regular commenter, but we've had conversation way back about Death Duty, as albeit it's a 12-year-old horse, still got a ton of ability. At the moment, around 25 to 1. Could go either way, there or the Ultima. It's absolutely in the Ultima. So some of the ones I'm going to mention are not sure to get in at all. And I think even though it's a 12-year-old, I still think that horse has got something about it, and it's reasonably well handicapped. So an interesting one, and an interesting one for me on these, because most of the horses I'm going to go through are actually UK-based horses. I haven't got very many Irish horses. I tend to find in some of these handicaps the value sits with the British horses, because the Irish horses are put up a few extra pounds and they're well looked at in the betting market. So Death Duty's on the shortlist. Lasker Lynn, I like that in both of them. I think that's been a pretty consistent horse until last time out. Faranet, a bit inconsistent horse, but a couple of nice runs where I think it's performed reasonably well. And the Wolf is the other one who we've backed a few times on the channel, and I think he's still really well handicapped. Looks like it's been dropped £2 for coming 4th when we backed it last time at a decent price. So wherever the Wolf gets knocked up next, it will be something I'm probably going to look at. Then the only one in the Ultima that's not in the Kim Muir that I've got on my shortlist is Fantasticas. I think that's a brilliantly well handicapped horse, because it's not done so well this year. If it bounces back, that horse is so well in. The challenge of that horse is it's just probably dropped a bit too far down the handicap mark that it might not get in the race. That's my general summations about the Ultima. We'll do conclusions at the end, as you recall. Next handicap, the Boodles. As already mentioned, not touching it, moving on. Alright, so that's Tuesday. Wednesday, Coral Cup. I've had a look through. It's a very competitive race. There's lots of horses, and I got nothing that stood out to me. It's really hard to make a call at this stage who's actually going to run. So as far as the handicap video, I have left the Coral Cup completely. So I've gone past it, and yeah. So the other handicap we've got left with on Wednesday is the Grand Annual. And here I got 5 on the shortlist. So Elixir du Nuts, which has got a couple of entries, bit more of a shorter one, around about 20 to 1 best price. It's not going to make the shortlist. I'm saying that now because I like the look of the horse. The price isn't massive at 20 to 1, it's reasonable, but because it's really hard to call where it's going to run, I'm not going to include it in there. Before Midnight was a horse I mentioned on freebets.com. I still like Before Midnight. 20 to 1 now, I think it was 25 when I put it up on freebets.com. My niggle with the horse at the moment is it is a bit more of a good ground horse, and I just think next week at Cheltenham you're going to be one that's comfortable with a bit of softer ground. Forecast is a little bit of rain each day, so I think the best you're going to get is good to soft, but I think it's going to be good to soft versus soft, and hopefully we don't get heavy. But yeah, I think that's my niggle with Before Midnight. Then got Faster Buck, which I think is very well handicapped, but borderline to get in, and similar category, Ferrero Bamboo. borderline to get in. It has got another entry and I think the other entry is in the plate, and it's about a third of the price for the plate. But to me, it looks like a 2 mile horse. That's where the form is. I don't see it as a 2.5 miler. So I'm really curious as to why it's got such a shorter price in the plate. Clearly, somewhere in an article that I've not seen or found, it's been mentioned by Venetia Williams. It was Venetia Williams' horse. By that maybe it's going to the plate. But yeah, it looks very, very well handicapped to me. And then the last one I've got on my list was Malaysiastic, which I have backed before, I think, on freebets.com on a Saturday. Again, it's one of them ones, maybe it's a good grounder. So 5 at the moment floating on the shortlist. And when I say shortlist, these are ante-post shortlist. When we actually get to the day, my selections might look a little bit different as the market goes different. All right. Then on to Thursday. Thursday's the day that I like the best because we've got 3 handicaps. We've got the Patents. So starting with Mill Green. Mill Green's a horse I've put up before on freebets.com in my ante-post videos there. I'm still keen on Mill Green. I think it's competitively handicapped. Yes, it's 11 years old, but it's competitively handicapped. I also like Jet of Magic, which is a Nichols horse, and you can get 33s at the moment, which I think is a really generous price for a Nichols horse in a handicap. Yeah, done not much wrong really. I think last time it unseated. I'm saying is literally I'm saying that this is what's stored in my head. So I'm doing this without notes. Yeah, if I get anything minor wrong like this, forgive me if it was happened, it failed last time or whatever it might be. But I'm pretty sure it unseated last time over 2 mile and 5, as I think it was. I think it was a shorter distance. 3 miles, I think, is what it wants, and I think it's still progressing. So I like the look of that one. There's a couple in the Patents, I think, that are worth a look at a bigger price. Champagne Court at 50s. It's a mixed bag kind of horse in terms of its run over different distances, but I think 3 miles on a hurdle looks all right for that one. And a right biggie in there from a very small yard, Risk and Roll, 100 to 1. I think because it's a small yard, it will get overlooked. There's a slight question mark whether it will get in the race, but 100 to 1 is a very, very nice price at the moment. That's the Patents. The Plate. Another mention for Elixir de Nuts. So I've already mentioned that once. That's on the shortlist. The only other one that's on the shortlist, which I put on freebets.com, which I'm just worried it's not going to get in, is Celebre de Allen. If that horse runs in the Plate, hands down, if that makes it in, that's my value horse anywhere near where the current value is. 40 to 1 is best price. It should be at 20s max. There's a ton of value in it, but it just niggling me. I think it's number 45, and I think with the Plate, I think maybe you can have 25 runners. If you look at the mark for the previous years of what it had to be to run in, it's on the bottom line. But yeah, there's just need 20 horses to come out, I think, for it to get in, and that does worry me a little bit. But that is the extent of my shortlist on the Plate. I normally would have a bigger shortlist, and I've not found stuff. So yeah, that's it. And then finally for Thursday, the Kim Muir. So we've already mentioned the Wolf, Deaf Duty, Lascalin, Faranet. We've mentioned all of those already that I like that are in the Ultima. There were also in there. There's no reason why I wouldn't like them for the other race. It's just a slightly longer distance, basically, and it's later in the week, so the ground's more likely to be a bit softer. That's the only thing. I like the Rapper in that one. I think that one is definitely probably a bit more of a progressive horse, and I think it's done all right at Cheltenham. Cap de Lily is one that's on my shortlist. Deafy Blue, but I think it's got other entries. And I think Deafy Blue is the one that I recall when I looked at it. It's got an entry this weekend in Ireland as well. So not going to make the shortlist in terms of at the end conclusions, but I wanted to give it a mention. And then the other one, a bit inconsistent, but well capable, is Hill 16. So I think, yeah, on my shortlist on the Kimmy, I've got like 8 sat there, which is normal at this stage. So it's a hard one to get right. And then we're going to move on to Friday, County Hurdle. Milkwood's the horse I put on freebets.com. That is still my number 1 horse. There was a nice write-up about it the other day, I think, on Racing Post. Yeah, 25 to 1 is pretty much a consistent price now across the board. You could have got 33s previously, but yeah, I think that horse is handicapped to run well, and I think there's an out wrong with the form on that one. I also like Decapo Glory, which I've backed before on my regular channel. 33 is kind of best price at the moment. It's a small Irish stable it comes from, and yeah, it could just be lurking in there. It ran last time, first time for a long time, and didn't do too bad, but didn't place for me, unfortunately, on the channel. And yeah, I just think it's a bit unexposed. So it's one Irish one that's made it on my shortlist for value. I've also got on there Highway 102, which I have backed before, and was my main tip for the Betfair Hurdle. It ended up only coming 7th, but I would probably keep a bit of faith, and I'll definitely be keeping an eye on it when it gets to Cheltenham. And then the other one I've got in there, a biggie, definitely a risky one, is Jason the Militant. So it's got an entry in the Champion Hurdle. It's only had one run for Phil Kirby. It used to be Henry de Bromhead, I think. And if it gets anywhere near back to its old form, and the ground, important with this one, the ground goes soft at least, if not heavy, that's when I would be excited about heavy ground, because if they might decide just to try and get a bit of place money in the Champion Hurdle and have a spin round a championship race, because Phil Kirby's not done that before at Cheltenham. But I actually genuinely think the horse is handicapped well if it can improve slightly on its previous run for him, which it was running after 4 months off the track. I do think it looks really well handicapped, and it's sat down there at a massive price. So that's the other mention on the County Hurdle. And finally, the Martin Pipe. Not going to go through anything other than mention, I put up on freebets.com Roy May Uni, which just doesn't look like it's going to get in at this stage. So I'm mentioning it, but that is the extent of it. I'm a bit like the Coral Cup. Those two I found them really hard to distinguish, so I've left it. So there we go. What does that mean? I've given all I've said of all of that stuff. What have I actually come up with? Right, let's hope this comes out nicely on the screen. So what I've got is my 5 preferred races, 2 in each, and then I've starred some, so I'm hoping it reads well. The general rule here is, at the moment, ante-post, Paddy and Betfair are the same prices on almost everything, and they are 5 places on all the handicaps, and they are non-run and no bet. That is, broadly speaking, the best place to put bets on right now is Paddy Betfair. Behind that is 365 and then Sky. Those are the best 4 overall, I would say, to put a bet on. Coral have only gone 4 places at the moment. There are some smaller bookmakers that might have odd bits and bobs, but broadly speaking, if you want to do multiples and things, I'd say Paddy or Betfair are your best place to do that right now. So, conclusion was, in the ultimate, I'm going to stick with the old boy, 12-year-old Deaf Duty, and put him up there, and I'm going to go with Lastical in to make the cut and not defect and run in the Kim Muir. What I've got here is I've got 4 starred horses, and I've left that because I think they're the riskier 2, just because of the chance that they could switch, well, not switch, but they might not run in the race. So we've got Deaf Duty 25s, general price 25s, Lastical in 40s, which is available 365 at Betfair and Paddy. That's the ultimate. Then on the Wednesday in the Grand Annual, I'm going to go for the 2 risky ones, and the only reason they're risky is whether they'll actually get in and run, because they are quite far down the pecking order. They're both, I think, 34 and 37 or something like that in the list. So we need a few defections to come out there. Fastbuck 33 is best price Paddy and Betfair. Ferrero Bamboo 33 to 1. Standout price is Sky Bet on that one. So that's the Grand Annual. In the Potemps, I'm sticking with Mill Green that I put up on freebets.com 25. I think, yes, it's 11 years old, but I think it should be competitive enough. Is it going to be enough that a newcomer doesn't come run past it? Yeah, I'm not necessarily thinking for the win, but for place money, I think Mill Green's there. Jet of Magic has just edged it as my number 1 though, so Jet of Magic in there at 33 is available Sky, Paddy and Betfair. I think Nichols has got a good priced horse in that race for the Potemps. Then we're going Kim Muir. I'm going to go with the Wolf at 50s, standout price 365, 33 to 1 everywhere else pretty much, 50 to 1 is on a single bet on 365. I think that's a great bet. That horse is so well handicapped. If it runs and you've got 50-1, I would think you'd be quite happy with 50-1. Then I'm going to take a chance. Hill 16 40s, 365 Paddy and Betfair. It can run a bit inconsistent, and I'm pretty sure off memory it's not run at Cheltenham before, and that would be a question mark for a race like that, definitely. But yeah, we'll take a chance on Hill 16 because I like the price. And then the county hurdle, again, keeping faith with Milkwood. So that's it at 25s, and it's made the cut. So I really hope it doesn't run the champion hurdle. I hope they go in the county hurdle for Jason the Militant, and I hope by the end of the week the ground's got a bit boggy, and I'll be delighted to be sat on 100-1 bet on Jason the Militant in that county hurdle. That's Paddy and Betfair. I think everywhere else broadly 66s. So that is the conclusions. Hopefully it's all very clear. So the top four, if you want to do a lucky, I'm saying Ferrero Bamboo, Jet of Magic, The Wolf, and Milkwood. They would be my 4, slightly edging it, but this is my 10. So in terms of when I do my review after Cheltenham Festival and I'm judging how well as the ante-post videos go, I am judging if I put £1 each way single on all 10 of those, how have I done? Basically, if one of them wins, this video wins. And I think probably, roughly speaking, we'd need 2 of them to place in order for the video to be profitable. So 1 winner, 2 places, and it was worth doing this video. Less than that, and apologise if you've just wasted 21.5 minutes of your time. All right, that is me. Hopefully the excitement is growing. I've been getting excited for Cheltenham for weeks. Just want some decent quality racing to have a go at. Desperately would love it to go well. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this 3-part series. It's been staggered over a long period of time, but that's tactically how I would absolutely do it. Championship races first, then novice races, then leave a big old gap. And I think ante-post video on handicaps the week before is absolutely where you would want it to be. So that is me. I will see you on another video, Cheltenham or otherwise, sometime soon. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.